Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back to episode 130 of the Hibs Ramble. It is the final Ramble of the season. It is the third annual Ramble Awards night. I'm joined today by the magical Mr. Shaun Corrigan. How on earth are you, mate?
Fantastic, mate. Absolutely fantastic.
And can I just get a couple of words on how it feels to be involved in the third annual Ramble Awards?
Listen, it's a great honour. Something I never thought I would be part of. So to be here 3 years on the trot, it means the world to me. And listen, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over at the Ramble. So yeah, long may it continue.
Absolutely true. And there's whispers that you might be up for an award later on.
Yeah. Deserved, in my opinion. Listen, I'll give my speech at the time when the award arrives. But listen, if I'm getting an award, it means something good has happened for the Hibs.
Sure.
So we'll take it.
That's good in any sense of the word. Yeah, like I said, final ramble of the season before we take a quick break, quicker than we usually take, because we will be back in Europe in July. I think is it the 21st of July, which is the first leg of the Europa League second qualifying round. Obviously, which will be in since Aberdeen won the Scottish Cup last weekend, and that meant that they claimed the Europa League playoff qualifier, which means that we get what we would have got before finishing third anyway. So, a bit annoying, of course. And you know what's more annoying, Shaun, is the fact that in any other circumstance, I probably would have been fairly chuffed that Celtic didn't do a treble and someone other than an old firm team won the cup. But on Saturday, I was absolutely fuming.
Yeah, it felt so fucking annoyed by it.
It felt like we'd lost a cup final.
Yeah. What annoys me more is that, like, the two times that we've finished third in the league in recent history, we've been screwed over by someone that isn't Celtic or Rangers winning the Scottish Cup. Obviously, one of them we should have won, one against St Johnstone.
Yeah.
And obviously, this one, I'm not going to give the Aberdeen fans or the Hearts fans the satisfaction that they clearly want, but it couldn't be more Hibs.
It couldn't be more Hibs, but I mean, on Saturday I was fuming, right? And then I kind of took a step back and I was like, well, the place wasn't ever thirds. It's the winner of the Scottish Cup. That's who gets the place. And Aberdeen have won the Scottish Cup. So it's not like we had it and then they won the Scottish Cup and the SFA have been like, actually, no, I think they deserve it more. Like, it was always going to be the winner of the Scottish Cup. The best possible outcome for Hibs or anyone who finishes third would have been an Old Firm final. And no one wants that anyway. So, yeah, it's annoying. It means that we've got a couple of more hoops to jump through, a couple of more ties if we want to get to the league phase. What's good about our qualifiers this time, though, is obviously we're starting in the second qualifying round of the Europa League, and then we've got the parachute. Should we fail to qualify from that, we would parachute into the third qualifying round of the Conference League. And then if we lose that, we're out. Whereas if we win the first Europa qualifying round, I'm confusing myself talking about this here. If we win that, then we'll be guaranteed a playoff. Either or. So I think we just need to look at it in terms of what's done is done. We still need to beef up the squad with quality. We knew that we would have needed to do that anyway if Celtic had won the cup and we would have got guaranteed league phase football. It's still achievable. It's still possible. So I think just keep the heat, keep the ball on the deck, and we'll maybe get there through a roundabout way, Shaun.
I think you're maybe trying to convince yourself with everything that you've just said instead of the listeners.
Well, I'm trying to convince myself as well, but I've looked. I don't think that the full lineup for the qualifiers is confirmed yet, because I think there's still cup finals to play in other countries. So we'll just need to bide our time and see. The draw is made on the 18th, but the draw for the first qualifying round is made on the 17th, the day before. So we should maybe be able to get a little bit more of a handle on who's likely to get through. Because, I mean, there's always going to be upsets, isn't there?
I'll tell you right now, we're going to get Anderlecht.
I wouldn't mind Anderlecht, you know. Quite close by. Easy to get to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind Shakhtar.
No thanks.
No, well, someone in the group chat said that Shakhtar are playing their games at Schalke.
If that's true, then yeah, I would absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, so
fun fact: been to the Schalke Stadium already.
Did you go there through the Euros?
Yeah, for Spain, Italy.
Lovely stuff. That's nice, Shaun. What was the score?
Was it 1-0 or 2-0 Spain? I think. 1 or 2-0.
No.
Yeah, it was. To be fair, it was a dire game to watch.
I think I remember watching it on the telly, and it was quite crap.
It was the third group stage game as well, so like Italy needed something from it, and Spain didn't really need anything from it. Spain rested a lot of their players. Aye, but anyway, enough about that.
Anyway, yes. Well, we kick off the afternoon/evening with the first 2025 Ramble Awards, Shaun. Let's. And this first award goes to Moment of the Season. Now, Rocky Bushiri won the official Hibernians Player of the Year Awards Moment of the Season, but that matters not here, as this is the most important awards and probably the most prestigious award, Shaun, that a Hibs player could ever ask for, is to win something voted by us in the Ramblers. You know what I mean?
I do think so. I think if it's voted by us in the Ramblers, I think that means more to anything that any footballer would ever achieve, other than maybe winning the Petrofac Cup.
Yeah, possibly. Maybe on par with the Petrofac.
Well, that is right up there, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Petrofac is definitely better than getting a runners-up medal in the Petrofac.
Yeah. Or is it better than finishing third, or no, finishing second in the English Championship and getting a trophy for finishing second? Don't know about that.
I think it would be better than that, and it's definitely better than finishing bottom six champions.
Correct.
So, Moment of the Season, and the nominees were, nominated by myself, was Rocky's equaliser in the 3-3 game at home against Aberdeen, as was Craig's. That was his Moment of the Season as well. Mark nominated Dwight Gale's goal at Tynecastle and the subsequent celebrations. Shaun, you nominated securing third over those other moments. Why was that?
First of all, I knew that those two were going to be in there anyway, so I wanted to put a different spin on it and give us another option to maybe discuss. Both those moments that you've mentioned were very pivotal moments in the season, but for me, finishing third hasn't happened all too often in my lifetime, as me and Craig like to bam on about. And hopefully in the future it starts to happen a wee bit more. In recent history it has happened a wee bit more, which is great. But I never really believed what was going on this season, even through the 17-game unbeaten run and everything that was going on. It just didn't feel very Hibs, just didn't feel quite real. So,
and then we're brought back down to earth at the
in true Hibs fashion. But the securing of third for me is huge for us as a club. It cements what we're trying to do. It cements what the Gordon family are trying to do. And it just makes the club look a whole lot better. Not necessarily than what it is, but it'll allow us to attract better players moving forward. The more consistent, if we can consistently start to try and finish third or fourth, close to third, from a foreigner's perspective, when we're trying to attract players to the club, it will look more appealing. And the more often we do that, the better.
And it'll give us more money as well to spend on these players.
Correct.
So it was a very big, important moment, of course. Obviously, Rocky's equaliser speaks for itself. It was the turning point of our season. I don't think we could have got much worse in terms of league position and points accrued up until that point, and it was kind of there where it completely flipped on its head. And obviously, we went to Parkhead after the Motherwell game and got beat, but after that, it was 17 league games unbeaten, which was quite incredible when you consider that we played Hearts twice, Aberdeen twice, Celtic, Rangers, Dundee United twice. Did we play them twice in that run? I can't remember.
Look at that whole man.
You know, absolutely incredible. But the winner, which was voted as by the Ramblers, and there was about 350, 400 votes come across the category, Shaun, which I was very pleased that everyone getting involved and voting for their favourite moments across the season, and other awards, so on and so forth. But the winner is, with a 41% of the vote, Dwight Gale's goal and the subsequent celebrations at Tynecastle. Now, talk us through it, Shaun.
Well, here at the Ramble, we are humongous advocates for limbs, mainly those limbs at Tynecastle and Ibrox, in particular Tynecastle. Liam will be glad to know that I was not in the bottom tier or the front row for these celebrations.
It wouldn't have mattered anyway, because
would not have mattered. I was probably close to the bottom tier in the front row at the end of the celebrations. Dwight Gill's goal at Tynecastle is probably going to come up quite a bit during this recording, and for me, it can't be underplayed, the build up to the goal as well. Obviously, Dwight Gale's pressing of the ball reminded me of Griffiths' pressing of the ball when Caldwell got that goal at the other end at Tynecastle. And it's easy to say at his age and this, that and the other, but he still put a shift in, put the pressure on. The ball in obviously ends up on the other side, and he then finds himself at the front post, back in the box. And yes, there are other goals that are more aesthetically pleasing that have happened this season. But for me, the deftness of the touch for Dwight Gale is immense. And obviously any goal to win a derby, which we don't do that often at Tynecastle, nor do we do that often late at Tynecastle either. And it was relatively late on in the match. Was great. And I think because of the fixtures that we had around that time, both before the game at Tynecastle and after, getting that result at Tynecastle, I think, gave the squad an extra 10 or 20% on their confidence levels and their, I was going to use the word ego, it's probably the wrong word, but it gave them the confidence to believe in what they're doing and what David Gray's trying to do, and it solidified what we're trying to do as a club. And that probably led to the run that happened in the games after it as well.
Yeah, I think you talk about it as a moment there, as it wins moment of the season. I think, yeah, it's the Rock equaliser is a catalyst, of course, but it could have been easy for a Hibs team to go to Tynecastle and maybe not settle for the draw, but maybe not push as hard as we did and fight as hard as we did. We've seen it there in recent years that it's a very difficult place to go, and especially in a derby when the Hearts fans are up for it and the Hearts players are up for it. It's tough. It's tough to go there, and I think it kind of showed that we had just a bit of metal about us, and we were able to ride through it. Admittedly, I don't think Hearts were great that day. I don't think Hearts were that good at all throughout the majority of the season, and that probably helped us a little bit in terms of that game in particular. But mate, you can't understate a derby win, whether you're a Hibs fan, a Hearts fan, Celtic fan, Rangers fan, Dundee United fan, so on and so forth. You can't understate how important that is to swing your season and inject a bit of belief into your players. And exactly like you said, I think it was a massive hand into helping us onto that long unbeaten run. That
Let's not forget though, like, we deserved to win that game. I know I got pelters on some TikTok clip that you put up a while back saying that we had been so much better in Hearts in so many derbies, but we had, and unfortunately in some of them we hadn't came out on top. We deserved to come out on top on that one, as we did in some of the previous ones that we've not. So to go to Tynecastle and get the 3 points, like you said, it would have probably been easy for Hibs teams of the past to settle for a draw. but getting that 3 points so late on as well, and the celebrations after it. Like, I've not seen Tynecastle celebrations post-match like that in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It just felt, and I'll probably mention this later on to do another game, it just felt different, the way that those celebrations were. And like I know it's easy to say we were kept behind for ages, but almost every single Hibs fan was still in that stand half an hour after the game, which normally it doesn't happen.
No, well, especially because we usually get beat when we go there.
It's empty before full time.
Right, so well done to Dwight Gale and your fantastic goal at Tynecastle, and you have won Moment of the Season 24-25 as voted by the Ramblers with 41%. And I'm sure that's an award that he'll hang high up on his mantelpiece now that he's retired from playing football. That's probably the last award that he'll ever win. Like football-wise.
Unless he wins anything else in the next hour.
Yeah. Well done, Dwight. Well done. So yes, moment of the season, Dwight Gale at Tynecastle, fantastic goal. Next award is one that I think will be quite a quick conversation because I think we all know what it's going to be. There was 2 nominations for goal of the season, and as voted by the Ramblers, both of them were winners against Hearts in a 2-1 victory. Myself, Craig and Mark nominated Jack Iredale's at Easter Road against Hearts, and yourself, Shaun, for all the reasons that you mentioned just a few moments ago, nominated Dwight Gale's goal at Tynecastle. The Jack Iredale one is sensational, and I'll wax lyrical about it on our review of that derby on the pod because of where I sit, obviously right behind it, and it was just such a sweet, sweet strike. And to do that in the closing stages of the game, I mean, it was about 15 minutes from the end, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was close to the end again.
So I mean, the final quarter of the game. No, that can't be right. Final quarter of an hour of the game.
About 78.
Yeah, so to do that then with that sort of composure as a centre half in a derby that had we won, we would have then won 9 points out of Celtic, United, and Hearts. I just think that is unbelievable and unbeatable. And the Ramblers agreed, and it was 77%, a whopping 77% for Jack Iredale's goal against Hearts. That was also was it the SFA? SPFL goal of the season. So well done to Jack. You are the winner. Shaun, you've spoken about that Dwight Gale goal. I've just given you my take on the Jack Iredale goal. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I think the Dwight Gale one is, from a technical perspective, it's a better goal. However, I can understand why the Jack Iredale goal wins it. It's more aesthetically pleasing. It's got more wow factor. The fact that a centre half, left-sided centre half, is striking a volley. I think it was a volley, wasn't it?
Nah, half volley.
Half volley.
Well, it depends what you class as a volley and a half volley, because I've heard lots of different.
A half volley is if it's bounced. A volley is if there's not been a
bounce.
Yeah,
that's how I say it. But then I've seen people online saying a volley is regardless of if it's bounced or not, if the ball's coming down.
No.
And then a half volley is if the ball's rising. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's a stupid thing, eh?
Nonsense.
Half volley is if it's bounced. But then what if it bounces 2 or 3 times?
No, it's no longer a half.
You and me are on exactly the same page here, Shaun, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad, because that's a touchy subject.
I'm not even getting involved.
Some people are stupid. That's what it is.
Well, there we go. Yeah, I think the camera angle, the level of opponent, the level of keeper, the player that hits it, the impact,
the player that's trying to close him down,
every single thing to do with that goal makes it so good. The half-arsed pressing for Lawrence Shanklin and his face after it hits the back of the net, the fact that it's Craig Gordon and it dips and ends up hitting the lower half of the net behind him, but it still manages to go over and down after it goes past him. I think everything about it is sensational. That goal will be up there on Derby replay goals at Easter Road for years and years and years to come. Way like the Latape volley, that will be in the same breath when you're talking about Derby moments and Derby goals. An older generation might disagree with that, but
No, I think it will, though. I think it will. I think anyone who watches that goal can say that that's a screamer.
Aye. I
Um,
think I've experienced both, and they're both definitely up there. Derby goals at Easter Road in a winning Hibs side
we've scored
are
some belters when we've not won.
between. Yeah, we have. But the fact that this is a winner as well from a centre half, I think it just means a wee bit more.
Incredible. So well done, Jack. That's another goal of the season award that you can pin up on your mantelpiece next to Dwight Gale's moment of the season. That's if you share a flat. Next up is the Unsung Hero of the Season award. And now there was 4 different nominations for this. Myself, I nominated Dylan Levitt. Craig nominated Jordan Smith. Mark said Jordan Abita. And yourself, Shaun, said Josh Campbell. We'll just go quickly through player by player. Now, I said as an unsung hero, Dylan Levitt, because I feel like he's come in, he was a little bit under the radar, but he managed to completely shore up the middle of the park and make that position his in a season that the players that have come into that centre of the park have all been performing at a very, very high level. You think Nathan Mariah-Welsh was really good when he came in. Joe Newell, before he got injured, was playing really well. Nectar's obviously had a fantastic season. Josh Campbell, again, the start to the season that he made was pretty good as well. So it's been a position on the park that we've had an awful lot of quality in this season, but I feel like he came in a little bit under the radar and he did an absolutely excellent job. And when he's not in the middle of the park, I feel like we miss him.
Yeah, I think, especially with the stick that he's had since he's came to the club, and he's found himself in the team, out the team, and maybe being at fault for giving the ball away because he's that type of player that will play more a risky pass. He is a technically gifted player, and like you said, when he has came into the side, he's played very well, which is good. Like as have a lot of players in this side this season, and all 4 of the players that you mentioned there have done that as well. There's a common theme with quite a few of them as well. So yeah, he's definitely performed very well this season. It'll be interesting to see how or where he fits in next season, because we'll be looking to bolster up the side, especially with McGrath coming in as well. So we'll see how that unfolds.
Of course. And then next, the first of the 2 Jordans, Jordan Smith. I mean, speaks for itself, really. Came in when we were in dire need of a changing goalkeeper, and I think after the Celtic game, everyone maybe thought that Jordan Smith perhaps wasn't the player to come in, and maybe that he was just going to be filling a gap. Excuse me, voice crack there. Filling a gap until January, in which we could get a replacement goalkeeper. But he came in and he was absolutely excellent. I mean, we've spoke about it many a time this season, but Jordan Smith definitely deserves to be up there for the unsung hero for me.
Yeah, as we'll probably come on to talk about later on down the line. I when he joined the club, it just screamed of backup goalkeeper never to be used, and a name in the wind that just passes us by.
The English Otso Virtanen.
Pretty much. But considering how bad Joseph Bursic had been, unfortunately for him, it gave Jordan the opportunity to step in and step up, and that's exactly what he done. Listen, I'll double down and say I'm still not overly convinced, but he's been fantastic at times this season. Some of his saves have been brilliant. His shot stopping has been good at times as well. And yeah, like you said, he shored up, or that along with moving to the three centre halves at the back allowed us to shore up at the back, and that led to the run that we went on, and he was part of that. And if you've got a goalkeeper that can like breed off confidence as well. You've got 3 centre halves in front of him that'll do the exact same. So the more convincing he can be, and the more steady he can be, the more confidence the back three or the back five are going to have in him, and you could see that as well.
And I like Jordan Smith because the other week after the Dundee United game, he was in the Albion drinking pints of Tennent's. So he's obviously one, a model professional, and two, a complete high performance athlete. On to the next Jordan Abita. He came in when Nicky Cadden got injured, and I think everyone maybe shit their pants a little bit because Nicky Cadden had been incredible up to the point where he got injured. But for me, Jordan Abita came in and hit the ground running, and it was as if he'd been playing there all season. I thought he was brilliant, and up until the last couple of games, Nicky Cadden couldn't even get back into the team to start.
Yeah, I think Jordan's got the same amount of assists as Nicky as well, or they're one off each other or something like that. And again, it's testament to how good Nicky had been. Like for us to say that we absolutely shit ourselves when he then got injured.
Yeah, and for Jordan Abita, who was last year's Player of the Year.
That's exactly what I was going to say. For last year's Player of the Season to then come in and us not be sure about what was going on, and that's not a slight on Jordan Abita. It's just how good Nicky Cadden was. So for Jordan to come in and just the train just continued. Do you know what I mean? It didn't seem to halt. It didn't seem to stop at any point. And our level of performance as a team, more importantly, just seemed to continue. And we still seem to be not just as good, but we still seem to be good down that left side as well.
Brilliant. And finally, your nomination, which was Josh Campbell, my favourite player, also recently engaged. Congratulations, Josh. I love Josh Campbell. I could talk about him for days. Why have you nominated him for your unsung hero?
I nominated him because it just felt like we had a different Josh Campbell this season in so many aspects of his play. Like David Gray said at the start of the season, Josh Campbell was going to be a pivotal part of his side, and then found himself out the side for a lot of the start of the season, and didn't seem to be getting a good run of games or minutes, or what felt like a good run of games and minutes. And then as he started to come into the side and play a wee bit more, his workman-like abilities, which isn't all he's got a lot more ability as well. That seemed to coincide with us having a good run in form, and he seemed to be a standout every single time he was on the pitch. I mean, he only scored 4 goals this season, but all of them were at pivotal times in all 4 of the matches and in big games when we needed him to step up, or we needed someone to step up. And it's felt like in recent seasons, Josh has been made to be a wee bit more of a scapegoat, and he's been, not from his perspective, but from a fan's perspective, fans would probably say that he's probably one of the players that haven't stepped up when we've needed players to step up.
Don't ask Craig Leach about Josh Campbell.
And he gets it tight a wee bit more because naturally he's a Hibs fan, so we put that wee bit more pressure on him as well. And it just felt that throughout the season, I spent a lot of the time actually watching him when he was on the pitch rather than the actual team or watching the ball. His off the ball communication and his off the ball movement and just wee delicate things that he was doing off the ball was helping other individuals on the pitch as well. Very, very good leadership skills off the ball as well, which might go unnoticed, hence the voting for him in this category. And I just love cunts that celebrate tackles. Not just tackles they've made, tackles that other players have made as well. And he was doing that throughout the season, even against Ross County and St Johnstone, as he was against Celtic and Hearts. Like, he just loves it. And for me anyway, watching him this season, I've seen a different side of his game, and hopefully he can take it to another level next season as well.
Well, if it was down to me, I think I would give every award to Josh Campbell, but unfortunately it's not down to me. It was down to the Ramblers, and with 50% of the vote, so I mean he's basically run away with it here, the unsung hero, the Ramble Unsung Hero of 2025 goes to number 13, Jordan Smith. Congratulations, Jordan. Absolutely well deserved. We spoke there just about how much we've been more comfortable, how much more comfortable we've been with him between the sticks and that back three in front of him. And hopefully a lot more to come. Obviously, he signed a contract extension in the middle of the season, so all the best to him for next season. Now, next up is our fourth category, and it's the best signing of the season. Now, I've put as an asterisk permanent signing because we all nominated Nicky Cadden. So, to make it a little bit more interesting, I put out the tweet that says best permanent signing of the season: Nicky Cadden, Dwight Gale, Jack Iredale, or Jordan Smith. Now, the winner eventually really ran away with it this time. But we've spoken about Nicky Cadden and Dwight Gale and Jordan Smith, but Jack Iredale is probably one that we've, apart from his goal against Hearts, someone that we've not really spoken about so far, and it's someone who I think has been absolutely pivotal to our success this season, and one, Shaun, who I think really, really, really gets it, which is hard to come by these days.
We love players that get it, and I feel like that label gets thrown around.
I think that we've signed quite a few this season, though, that get it. Iredale gets it. Smith gets it. Cadden, I think, gets it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Jack Iredale, when he came in, the reaction at the time was like, who's this Huddy?
Everyone thought it was going to be McKeown.
I know. What's he going to do? Do we need another centre half? And then we were like, we do need a centre half. But then he ended up not playing and not starting and stuff like that as well. And like I've alluded to earlier on, like when we changed the shape and when we went on that run of games, it was down to a certain number of individuals as well as the team. And Jack is one of those individuals that I would put that down to. When you change to a 3 at the back, yes, you can go with a right-footed centre half on the left side, but naturally it's going to be uncomfortable for them. So for Jack to do what he done and be on that left side, it suits him down to a T. It suits his side of play. It suits the way that he plays. And then having someone like Nicky Cadden on that side, and then Jordan Obita as well, only helps with the abilities that he's got. So again, once he stepped in, he looked like an absolute rock, and I would probably consider. In fact, no, I would consider him the best centre half at the club, by far, for my opinion. Because I think when you play as a 3, no, I can't speak from playing experience, but I can speak from coaching experience. It always seems that the centre half in the middle is the one that needs the most protection and needs to be probably the weaker of the 3 because they can't play on the right side of it or the left side. And Jack being on that left side with a Nicky Cadden and an Obita that go so far forward, he was able to adapt and go left back and then stay centre half or then do left centre half. He was able to adapt and do it very, very well. And if you can get a centre half that can consistently give you 7 and 8 out of 10, then your side's in a very, very good place, and that's exactly what he done.
And I think for years we've been trying to fit square pegs in round holes in terms of left-footed centre halves. Obviously, we had Paul Hanlon for a long, long time, but towards the last couple of years, he perhaps wasn't playing as much as he would have liked, and it maybe would have been better for us to get someone in who was a left-footed centre half at that point. But yeah, I think when he signed, it was all the noise around. Oh, it's not McKeown. It wasn't a very sexy deadline day midnight signing.
Albeit he is a very sexy man.
He is a very sexy man, but when you're thinking about deadline day signings, you're wanting strikers or creative flair players. But yeah, when it comes to at the end of the season, I think that Jack Iredale was an incredible signing for us and someone that I'm very looking forward to seeing next season. Hopefully he gets a couple of games for Australia in this camp. It'd be lovely to see him play for his national team. Nectar as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him test himself in Europe next season and see how he gets on there. But all that being said, the winner is someone completely different. And running away with 80% of the vote, the best signing that Hibs have made in the 24-25 campaign goes to Nicky Cadden.
Best left back in Scotland.
Yeah, I think so. Well, absolutely well deserved as well. I mean, someone who's come in and just been absolutely incredible. Goals, assists, his ball into the box, his delivery is. I think it's at Easter Road. It's the second best consistent delivery I've ever seen, and that's behind Luca Digne when Aston Villa came to play against us. Honestly,
Imagine we should have brought Grant Holt out of retirement and chucked him up top with Dwight Gale.
imagine
those two
imagine
top
that
together with
Nicky Cadden putting balls into Brian Graham and Grant Holt. How good would that? How many goals would we have scored?
Those
Incredible.
two between them, we get 40 each. So
Aye.
80.
Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, well done, Nicky. Really well deserved. 80% of the vote. Wow. Which moves us on to, for now, it's our final Rambler voted award of the afternoon, and it is the best game of the season. Now, this is one that, again, there was only a couple of nominations from us, the Ramblers, the Ramble hosts, should I say, actually. And to make it a little bit more interesting, I fleshed it out, much to Shaun's disgust. So the best game of the season, the nominations are 2-2 at home against Rangers, 2-1 away against Hearts, 2-1 at home against Hearts, and 4-0 at home against Dundee. Now, let me talk you through why I chose.
3-1 away to Dundee United.
Let me tell you why I chose those games. You never nominated that. I've got the spreadsheet right here, Shaun. The 2-2 game against Rangers, I thoroughly enjoyed watching that game of football. I thought that, although we didn't get a win, genuinely thought that that was one of the better games of football that I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. Thought it was an excellent game. It was end to end. There was drama. There was everything that you would want as a neutral. And I know I'm not a neutral watching that game, but I really, really enjoyed it. We could have nicked it right at the end. Didn't mean anything. So everyone came in party mode, and I think the atmosphere for all 4 sides Easter Road that was packed with Hibs fans seeped onto the pitch, and the players soaked it up and used every morsel that the fans were giving them to really propel themselves forward in the game, which is why I chose that, which might be a little bit controversial because we never won, but that's my reasoning. Obviously, the 2 Derby wins speak for themselves, and then Shaun's not happy at a 4-0 win against Dundee being in game of the season, even though it was our biggest win of the year. So if you're not happy with that, then I don't know what your problem is.
Do you know why I didn't actually nominate 3-1 Dundee United away? Because the category, which I'm going to give away because we're going to talk about it, is best away game or best away day, and I put it in there. So I didn't want to have like Kieran Bowie's winner, Dundee United away, in like 6 categories. So I thought, you know what, I'll go for another one here and then hope that it gets put in. And then I forgot that nobody else was at the game, so I probably should have put it in.
Yeah, well, Mark was.
Oh, in fact, yeah, Mark was there actually. Aye, sorry, I forget.
Yeah, but he never nominated it either, so it must have been shit.
No.
And also, because I was thinking about that as well, because I remember watching it and being like, "Oh, that looks amazing in that away end," but the game was terrible. It was a
The game was
bad
terrible.
game, and that's
That's
kind of
another
what
reason
came
why
into my.
Aye.
That's what came into my psyche when I was nominating these games, was how much enjoyment did I get watching that game of football, because that game of football was fucking awful
Yeah,
until
that's
the
why I
last
put it as
3 minutes.
the away game instead.
Yeah.
Best away game.
So this one has been voted by the Ramblers again, and with 48% of the vote, the best game of the 24-25 season goes to Hibs 2, Hearts 1 at Easter Road in Edinburgh Derby. That Jack Iredale winner that cancelled out a George Grant equaliser from Martin Boyle's opener. So well done to all involved, especially to all the Hearts players that made that possible, all the Hearts fans who came and made it possible. Elton Kabangu for celebrating an offside goal, and most importantly, Lauren Shanklin.
Luke Shanley for interview.
Yeah, Luke Shanley for interviewing Lauren Shanklin at half time. Neil Critchley for getting 1 whole point against Hibs in his whole tenure as Hearts manager. I mean, the list is endless, but a big thank you to all them for making that day possible. Next up, Shaun, is the first one that we're going to discuss together and come up with a winner between ourselves. It is the Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award, and the nominees are Shaun saying that Jordan Smith wasn't a good goalkeeper, Shaun saying Jordan Smith wasn't a good goalkeeper, Shaun saying Jordan Smith wasn't a good goalkeeper, and finally Shaun saying that Jordan Smith wasn't a good goalkeeper. Now, it might be a little bit obvious as to what the worst take of the year, Mark Duncan worst take of the year is, but you mentioned it a little bit earlier on. You got absolute pelters online for saying this on the pod.
Can we educate the new listeners as to why it's called the Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award? Can we educate people on that?
Yes,
as well?
It's called the Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award. Was it last year? No, it wouldn't have been last year. It would have been the first season that we did Ramble Awards, and it's called the Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award because Mark said with the utmost confidence that Dundee United would comfortably finish in the top 6 and pushing for Europe 3rd and 4th, and they got relegated. So that's why, because it is probably the worst take, apart from Craig Leach talking about some certain songs that I brought. Probably the worst take that we've had on the podcast. So that is why it's called the Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award, if you didn't know already. But we might need to change it next year to the Shaun Corrigan Worst Take of the Year award.
Nah, we're not getting worse than Mark.
No, that was awful. That was an awful take. Because he was so... He
said it with chest. He said
it with chest. And even throughout the season, I remember him saying, they'll turn. And they got relegated. Bottom of the league as well. Never even went down through the playoffs.
No.
Absolute rock bottom. But yeah, you mentioned it a little bit earlier on that you still weren't all that convinced by Jordan Smith, but surely you've got to take your medicine now and say that your opinion on him was it was miles off.
My opinion has increased to bang average at best. I will double down. Nah, I said earlier on, I'm absolutely delighted with how Jordan has performed this season. Listen, when I said it, he was in a good vein of form, and he maintained that throughout the whole season. He never really dropped. For me, there was just too many instances that when we did concede, I felt that he could have done better.
Okay, so you're nitpicking.
But that's just wanting the best for every. But like I could say that about loads of players that played this season. He's deserving of his new contract. His mum is outstanding, and his performances have also been outstanding this season. So listen, if I'm winning worst take of the year, and it's to do with a comment that is Hibs related, not like Mark's where it's Dundee United related, then something is going well. So I'll happily take that. I'll take my medicine on that one.
Well, I'm just getting confirmation from the producers now. Yep, Shaun, you have won the Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award. Here's your trophy. It is a plant that I had next to my laptop. How do you feel about taking that trophy home? Obviously, you've just mentioned there that it's good that a worst take for you means something good for Hibs, but you've got to be delighted with that.
Absolutely delighted. It's what I came here for. It's what I've been striving towards for the last 3 years. Others have taken the trophy home in previous years because my takes have been fantastic in the last couple of years. But I'm absolutely thrilled to win the award tonight, and I will definitely be celebrating.
Amazing. I'm delighted to hear that. So next, the 8th award of the evening. Sorry, the 7th award of the evening goes to the best away day. Now, I nominated the Boxing Day derby, as did Craig. Mark nominated, he was cheating, he nominated United and Hearts, but I'll give him Dundee United away, and you also nominated Dundee United away. The 3-1 game, not the game that we got beat 3-2. So that it's a 2-on-2 basically. Battle it out to the death. Who wins the award? Now, I wasn't at Dundee United away, the 3-1 game. You were at the Boxing Day derby. So I think that the ultimate decision, Shaun, has got to come down to you. And taking into all accounts an away day. So remember, Boxing Day derby was on Boxing Day. Obviously winning it in the last 10-15 minutes. But the winner was at the other end, not at our end. We did score at our end. You know, it was easy peasy. The winner was scored at the Hibs fans' end at Tannadice, you know.
I thought you were going to go Donald Trump mode there.
The hands were doing it, eh? Mate, my body was like, you gotta do it, and my head was.
Yeah, you're right. I was at both, and I alluded to the Dwight Gale one at Tynecastle earlier on, and we obviously spoke about the celebrations post match for that, and we spoke about the limbs, and all of that still stands. But for me, it's easy to give the award to a win at Tynecastle.
Mhm.
Like pretty much every single award that we've got, we could tie it into a win against Hearts or a win against them at Tynecastle, which we're in a privileged position to do this season. Because that obviously doesn't always happen. But for me, something I said it post Dundee United, there was something different about that whole away game, that whole match, the whole fan excitement, the whole
I honestly
celebration.
think that game,
Something different about
the
that.
3 points that we picked up that night, was the most important result that we had
Yeah,
all
yeah.
season.
Yeah, no, I can get on board with that, and I can agree to an extent on that as well. I think, yeah, the two goals late on, which obviously enhanced it, 2 in the 90 plus minutes, that obviously enhanced the away day experience. But at no point, and I said this to my mate on the way down the road afterwards, that whole match, everyone in that shed knew we were going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the match on the field was very, very poor, and the quality was very, very poor. And we got some decisions in our favour, especially with their chopped off goal and stuff like that as well. And their goal was against the run of play. So when you take everything into consideration, I do consider that on a higher level. I will remember the celebrations from that game on a higher peg than the Dwight Gale one at Tynecastle, which does seem silly to say, but for those
You
that
were
were
hanging
there
from the rafters, were you not?
that night, I was on the frame of the roof, hanging like a monkey, celebrating, and I loved every single minute of it. Like I was about to say, I said to my mate on the way down, it just felt like we had that aura of like Celtic in an away game where we just knew we were going to win, no matter how we performed, no matter what subs David Gray made. We were walking away with those 3 points. That's how it felt in the second half. And obviously, to get a winner in the 90th minute, Kieran Bowie getting it as well. Very, very well taken goal into the shed end as well. Yeah, it was very, very special. Obviously, Melkerson's limbs are considered quite high on the limometer by Hibs fans, and the Kieran Bowie ones are up there as well. And then what made the Kieran Bowie one better is it just felt like it was.
Well, remember, we're
It was
not talking
coming
about
online.
limbs. We've got a special award for limbs.
No, I know. It just felt that from an away days perspective, everybody knew that it was going to happen. Everybody knew that we were going to win. And then to then go on and seal it with a third, which we got to celebrate twice because we celebrated it, then it went to VAR, then we celebrated it again, and then the full-time whistle went as well. And then the scenes and the experience with the players celebrating into the shed end for Kieran Bowie's goal, for Hoylett's goal, and then the full-time scenes. I've not saw a level of confidence and aura from a set of Hibs players like that ever.
They've really been excellent this season.
That's for me why that is the best away day of the season.
Now, you were at both, so I feel like it's only fair that you get the deciding vote. So can we confirm that it is Dundee United 3-1, the best away day of the season?
Well, the fact that Mark was at both and he suggested both also hints that it was just as good, if not better, as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm happy to give it to that. It did look incredible. Obviously, I wish I was there. I wasn't, but listen, what you gonna do, man? But yes, well done. Hibs, Dundee United 1, Hibs 3 at Tannadice. The best away day of 24-25. Moving on, we've got the funniest moment of the season, and this can be on the Ramble, this can be Hibs in general. The nominees are Ellie Yuan and corner flags. Craig nominated Everyone Singing Hibs Are Falling Apart, and then we fell apart from 12th and fell all the way to 3rd. Mark's funniest moment was Neil Critchley's record against the top 6. And yourself, your funniest moment of the season was Elian's keepy uppies against Dundee, with an honourable mention to VAR at Easter Road against the Old Firm. Now, let's go through them one by one. Elian and corner flags, a match made in heaven. And as we saw in the last game of the season, he was even doing it to the Block 7 flag, the massive giant one. I thought it was just so funny that when we beat Aberdeen, and I think we were still like 11th or 10th or something, and they were 3rd or 2nd, and we celebrated like we'd won the World Cup, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And then Elian doing that with the corner flag, I thought it was so funny. And then obviously the next week, or a couple of weeks after, we were playing Hearts at Tynecastle, I remember seeing tweets from Hearts fans saying, they're just going to beat us and he's going to do this at full time, isn't he? And I'm thinking, fucking hell, I would love that. I would absolutely love it.
The amount of people I know that DM'd Ellie being like, you better, regardless of whether you score or not, take that flag if we win.
I know. So there's a couple of things about the one at Tynecastle that makes it even funnier, right? The first one, because I think everyone was looking out for him in the post-game celebrations. Everyone was looking for him, and I saw him run down the tunnel, and I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, because obviously he went off injured, didn't he? So yeah. I saw him run down the tunnel, and I'm like, oh no, he's injured. He's selling the celebrations. We're not going to see it. And then 2 minutes later, he comes out with his shirt, running up to the corner flag. He picks the flag up, and then there's this big fat steward that tries to grab him. There's an incredible picture of the guy like reaching over and swinging a miss, and LAU and absolutely dodging him. Absolutely fantastic. Someone who has probably been quite a decisive figure in his time at Hibs, but I mean, you can't fault that for absolute shithousery.
No, I think I'm going to use the word shame here. It's a shame, right? Because I can't really think of any other way to describe it. For such a talented player, and he is very, very talented, and he's scored loads of goals for us and got loads of assists, his top 3 moments in a Hibs shirt are going to be his double at Tiny, the corner flag shenanigans, and his keepy ups.
His keepy ups in a 4-1 defeat.
He's going to be the most streets won't forget Hibs player when he leaves in 10, 15 years' time, because he's been so good but at times he's been so bad, and he's so talented as well. And I just love the pattern of him running down the tunnel, getting his shirt, and then running back out because he knows fine well what he's going to do. And like you said, we celebrate like that at Pittodrie, which in recent years, we've won at Pittodrie quite a few times, but we don't have a history of winning there, and celebrate how we celebrated. It comes back to what I said earlier about the level of confidence and the aura.
Because usually that comes back to bite you on the arse.
As a Hibs player, it normally does. And in this instance, it didn't. So to then go and do it at Tynecastle a couple of weeks later is outstanding, regardless of how good he was in that game. So
I thought it was unreal, and I was so happy that he did it after the Rangers game with the Block 7 flag. I thought that was special. So that's my nomination for funniest moment of the season. Craig's is Hibs Are Falling Apart. Every team singing Hibs Are Falling Apart. To Hibs whenever they go 1-0 up or whatever. I'm sure Aberdeen were singing it in their cup parade, which I thought was a bit weird. And then obviously we had a massive falling apart all the way up to 3rd. So, I mean, take from that what you will. Mark's Neil Critchley's record against the top 6 again speaks for itself. Massive massive underachievement there from a Hearts manager. And his record against us is awful as well. 1 point out of a possible 9. If you're a Hearts fan, that's completely unacceptable because all they do is care about us. And then yourself, you mentioned it earlier on, Yuan's keepy uppies in the 4-1 defeat at Dens Park. But was it the keepy uppies or was it more the fallout and the way that Marvin Bartley and Michael Stewart and the whole of the Scottish media reacted afterwards?
I think if any other player for any other club in the country does that, I don't think they get the backlash. But because it's a Hibs player,
Do you think it would even get reported?
Oh, it would, but probably only through Twitter. And then it would be forgotten about a week later. Yes, the runny form that we were on at the time was absolutely diabolical. And yes, the way that game then panned out was also diabolical. However, never in my life did I think I'd be going back and forth with Marvin Bartley on Twitter for him to then offer to take me out for a coffee to have a chat about the situation and discuss football. So, I can only thank Ellie and the fact that just the whole fallout around it, I thought was outstanding. Everything around it, and like I say, that's unfortunately for Ellie one of the reasons why he'll probably be remembered at Hibs, and it's hilarious, but it's probably only hilarious because of Ellie's reaction to it post-match and then in the weeks after.
It was so funny. Did it not the week after
awards.
He got a Man of the Match award, a Hibs Man of the Match award,
voted
by Hibs fans, and then he tagged Marvin Bartley.
That's where I thought destiny and all the stars were going to align and we were going to win the Scottish Cup, and Ellie and Marvin Bartley were going to get a picture together, but that obviously didn't transpire. It's hilarious the way that everyone kind of blew it out of proportion and just forgot that, yes, we just got a man sent off, but you're not going to get all 11 players to go over to David Gray and get the instructions. Do you know what I mean? Players went over, got the instructions, and then they were fed back. And I mean, what else is it? If Elian didn't start doing keepy uppies, he was probably just going to go and get a drink of water.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He wasn't going to do anything else. So the whole thing surrounding it was what made it what it was.
Time's come to make a decision here, Shaun, and I think it's probably between mine and yours. But
I'm happy to let Ellie Yuan with the corner flag shenanigans.
Well, I'm going to say that I think that is objectively funnier. It's a funnier thing to happen. And I think that the keepy uppy stuff, yes, it was funny, but I think it's more the reaction and the ridiculous reaction that made it as big as it was. But I think, personally, that it should be Ellie Yuan with corner flags.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
I'm happy.
So congratulations. The funniest moment of the 24-25 season, as voted by Liam and Shaun from the Hibs Ramble, is Ellie Yuan and his corner flag shenanigans. Next up, and we're going to be kind of covering old ground here, but it's limbs of the season. This is our 9th. Excuse me. This is our 9th.
Right. Jesus Christ.
I know. It's our 9th award of the afternoon. The nominees are Josh Campbell at Tynecastle, Dwight Gale at Tynecastle, Mark again, who's putting 3 options, Hearts/Rangers/United, and Shaun, as you've put Kieran Bowie against Dundee United, which we've just been talking about. Now, something that we haven't spoke about is the Rangers game at Ibrox. Obviously, we won it 2-0. It looked like incredible scenes, absolute scenage. I wasn't there. I can't remember if you were there or not, Shaun, were you?
No, I wasn't.
No, so I was it was my little girl's birthday party, so I couldn't go, which was obviously gutting because when do we ever win it at Ibrox? Not gutting if you're listening, Mila, because obviously Daddy loves you. And
speaking as someone who has experienced top-class Ibrox limbs and top-class Hibernian victories at Ibrox, I could probably comfortably say that those limbs will top the rest.
Probably, yeah. And I mean, the best limbs that I've had in my life were at Ibrox, and it was for when Kevin Nisbet put us 2-1 up.
Yeah.
I think we got beat 3-2 or 4-2 that night, but then it's because we went right back up the park and scored after Rangers equalised. And that was the best limbs that I've ever had, and it was in a defeat. So, I mean, I think we could probably comfortably say that the Rangers limbs are definitely up there, but I think it would feel wrong to me, Shaun, to give the award to a game that we weren't at.
No, but Mark was at, and I'm
Do you trust his judgment?
I do trust Mark's limbs judgment. Yeah, listen, I think all of those I think this season has been this season.
It's great. It's been great for Limage. Even and at
has.
Easter Road as well. It's been great limbs at
Yeah.
Easter Road.
The limometer has been like
It's been off the charts. It's been going like
this. Josh Campbell, Dwight Gale, both up there. Kieran Bowie up there, but yeah,
I actually think that Josh Campbell's in that game, Josh Campbell's was the better limbs. I think just because it was in front of us.
Yeah, no, I get that. If I was to knowing how good those Ibrox limbs would be, I would have them first, and then Bowie, Campbell, Gale. I experienced the other three, but not the Ibrox one. Listen, if we're basing it on just our two judgments, because we're here, I would be fighting for Kieran Bowie, 100%.
Yeah.
Head and shoulder. But if we're taking into consideration what I like to think I know about Ibrox limbs in a win, I'm definitely on Mark's behalf. I will vote for.
Do you want me to phone him? See what he says.
Ibrox. If he answers.
Nobody knows more about Ibrox limbs than Shaun. Ibrox. It seems like a fitting award. I said that I would feel a little bit dirty giving it to a game that I've not been to, but you've convinced me. You've charmed me.
So, you going to phone him then or not?
No, I'm not going to phone him because he'll absolutely not pick up. Like, there's absolutely no way. So, limbs of the season 24-25 go to both goals at Ibrox because they didn't specify one. Either both goals, the VAR decision or the final whistle. Ibrox in general. There we go. Well done. Again, a massive hand to Barry Ferguson, Cyril Dessers for being a donkey. Whoever the referee was it Walsh? Who decided that the Boyle goal was onside. Jordan Abita for stuff in the pass.
I'm not having that.
He absolutely claffed it, Shaun. It was his right foot.
That's an incredible assist, and he means it.
That's an incredible assist, yes.
He means it.
He didn't even mean it in a month of bloody Sunday, Shaun. Come on!
That's one of the best assists I've seen in a Hibs.
I suppose, but he didn't mean it. No way. We're going into our third last award, Shaun. We're nearly there. We're nearly wrapped up for season 24-25, just before we move into the final three. How are you feeling?
I'm ready to go.
Good. Short and sweet. I like it. Ramble moment of the season. We've got 3 nominees because Mark couldn't think of one. I wonder why. He's been on about 4 rambles the whole season. The nominations are nominated by myself is me on the BBC saying that Third was on the 27th of December 2024. Craig's nomination was the conversation that he and I had over where on a giraffe would a tie go, whether it would go at the just underneath their chin or at the base of their neck. We spoke about this for a good few minutes. And I'd be keen to get your input as well in a second. And
I hope that wasn't on a recording. I hope that was in person.
No, it was on a recording. No, it was...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't remember what episode it was, but yeah, Craig will point you in the right direction. We had a bit of a discussion about it, and I don't think we came to an agreement. And your nomination, Shaun, was the Ramble's alternative angles from throughout the season. Now, the most pressing question here is, where does a tie go on a giraffe? Does it go in the base of the neck, or does it go just at
Well,
the chin?
like any tie, it goes at like the one I'm wearing today. It goes at the bottom of the neck.
Yeah, that's what I would have said. That's what I would have said. And Craig went, oh, but then it'll just hang down its chest. And I went, well, that's where a tie's meant to
Exactly
hang.
what Yeah.
So
Listen, I understand.
he's
Craig's
expecting
thinking.
it to go up here like that.
Yep.
That looks stupid. And if only we were wearing ties at the time, which we weren't. I mean, it could have been a 2-minute conversation.
Debate settled.
It was a fantastic moment. Shaun, yours is the alternative angles that we've put out on the socials this season. We've thankfully had an awful lot of games in which we can do shit like this. I thought after the first time that it would come back and bite us in the arse, and it hasn't yet. It hasn't yet.
I'm surprised you've not done a season review one.
Oh no, it would be like an hour long.
Like I'll give you your flowers. You don't often do things right, Liam, and you don't often get things correct. But this season you've done very, very well. The alternative angles have been sensational. They have rattled the right people at the right time, which is fantastic content. And yeah, I'll love to watch them. Some more than others, but love to watch them. But I think now that we've settled the giraffe debate, the winner, the clear winner is unfortunately your nomination, although it is head and shoulders above the rest, because I think we were 11th at the time, or maybe even joint 12th. And you said on the BBC and to Ryan McGowan that we would finish third.
Yeah.
And we did.
And
so
we
very,
did, yeah.
very well done.
And I've said it before, but you all laughed at me. You didn't particularly, I don't think.
No.
I think maybe when you heard it, you went, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, because I thought, like everything else, I thought it was going to come and bite us in the arse.
Like Tam McManus. I think I'd given it the Tam McManus curse.
Aye. I've not seen a lot of him. I wonder if I've blocked him or not.
I think he's maybe blocked you. He's definitely blocked the Ramble, I know that.
I'm going to check right now, so I'll let you talk about your moment while I check.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Oh, and I actually see when we confirmed third, I messaged the guy. I messaged the guy being like, get me back on now. I want to go back on the BBC and just gloat. But he has not replied.
Shockingly.
Yeah, which is disappointing to say the least. But no, I was...
Nah, I've got him muted.
After that game at Tynecastle, and I just feel like everyone else maybe thought at that point that it was all kind of clicking, it was all coming together, and that a win against Hearts at Tynecastle probably emulsified all that, albeit against, like we said earlier on, not a great Hearts side, but wins there for both sides, to be honest, in Edinburgh derbies recently has been quite difficult to come by. So the fact that we got that, I think that was a massive, massive kicker into how well we went on and did. We could have not got anything from that game or taken a point, and it wouldn't have been the same. I don't think we would have taken the same level of confidence from it, regardless of what the performance was like. But it was a performance to be proud of. It was a result to be proud of. And I'm just glad that what I said on the BBC actually came true, because I had that tweet bookmarked for about 6 months.
You're probably not the only person that had that bookmarked.
Yeah. So as soon as that final whistle went in Paisley, you knew I was cracking it out. I was watching it on my phone in Marrakesh, in the room, and I was going mentally. I was like, they better not score last minute. And as soon as it went, I was like, right, I had it saved in drafts and everything. Like I had the whole, because I got the league table from where we were when I said it, and I was like, look at this, Mystic McClendon knows what he's talking about. So,
well, let's hope there's many more moments like that next season, because again, like my worst take, it means that Hibs are doing well.
Do you want me to make a take now?
Yeah, you can.
And this can be included in worst take next year. because it is about next season. Hibs will get league phase European football.
Okay. You've said that quite a few times, so I hope that
Hibs
comes true.
will. I'm 100% certain that Hibs will be playing in the league phase of either the Europa League or the Conference League this season. Next season, sorry.
Okay.
25-26. That's where we'll be.
We pray. We pray. We pray for times like those.
Don't need to pray. I'm telling you it's going to happen. So, Ramble moment of the season. Listen, I'm absolutely delighted to accept it. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Kenny Crawford, the BBC, Ryan McGowan, obviously Dwight Gale and Josh Campbell for scoring the goals, and obviously Hibs for actually listening to me and finishing third. So thank you to everyone involved, and I'm absolutely delighted to take home that award. Which moves us on to the penultimate award, and it is Young Player of the Season. Now, we're not even going to have a discussion about this because there is a clear winner. And it's a player that's been nominated by all four of us, and probably someone who we thought coming into the season wouldn't make as much of an impact as he has. He's been a mainstay from the start of the season all the way through to the end, and so much so that we probably weren't all that impressed to see him sign at the start of the season, but now we're all clambering him for him to sign permanently now. It's the Young Player of the Season is Nectar Triantis. And Shaun, he's been absolutely caviar this season. And it was maybe a glimmer of something that we saw at the tail end of last season when David Gray took over from Nick Montgomery as interim. And he kind of moved Nectar into that sort of six, like half 6, half 8 role. And he was brilliant, but again, it was dead rubbers in games that didn't really matter. So, I mean, anyone could have probably looked half decent because it wasn't as tight as it was this season. I mean, the relegation was more or less confirmed. I mean, pretty early on that Livingston were going down. So I think he deserves it. I really do think he deserves it. He's been excellent this season, and I would be breaking the bank to get him back for next year.
Yeah, when I think that Nectar Triantis is a key example of when fans should maybe not get too high or too low when players are signed, and just trust the judgment of those at the club. Not just because of what you said there, but at the end of the transfer window, or when Nectar signed, both Malky and Ian and Ben at the time said that there were other options on the table. There were other players that we could have potentially brought into the club, new to the club, new to the league. But David Gray wanted players that he knew what level of ability he was getting, and albeit Nectar hadn't necessarily performed to those levels last season, David Gray will have seen week in, week out the player and the person of Nectar Triantis, and we would have known what he was getting, which is why we went and got Nectar again, rather than maybe going for one or two other targets that we were potentially going to go for, because David Gray wanted to get players that he knew could make an impact and could make the right level impact right away, rather than bedding in and settling in and stuff like that as well. So he knew what he was getting, and that's a prime example of when we need to trust what the club are trying to do. It's not necessarily always the scouting department that have the final say, or at the time Ben or Ian or Malky or whatever. Like, they put the trust on David Gray very early on in his tenure to make that decision, and whether they agreed with him or not, the rationale at that point made perfect sense. And look what's happened this season. It's an absolutely perfect example.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably go on for another hour talking about Nectar and how good he's been, and I think priority number one over the summer is have the conversation with Sunderland, for sure. Obviously, they just went up at the weekend there through the playoffs, so I think it was reported pretty widely that if that were to happen, which it obviously did, Nectar was to then get a wage increase in line with promotion to the Premier League, which you would expect. So it maybe kind of limits our options in terms of we might only be able to get him back on loan if Sunderland are willing to let him go, because chances are we're probably not going to be able to compete with Premier League wages. I don't think anyone expected Sunderland to go up this season. So if they'd have stayed in the Championship, it might have looked a little bit better for us getting him in on a permanent, because we'd be able to perhaps match or get fairly close to the wages that he's on there. But I can't see it. If we can pull it off somehow, I would be absolutely delighted. But even just for a loan, I would love to have him back on loan just for one more year and see what he can do in Europe, because genuinely think he's an excellent player. He's been playing with so much confidence this season, Shaun. A massive confidence player, I think. And you can just tell that when he's getting it right, he's getting everything right. And there's times in games where he maybe slips up a wee bit and makes a couple of mistakes, but he never lets it faze him. And he's always willing to get back on the ball and try and make things happen. And for me, he could have won Player of the Year for me. But absolutely brilliant. And, I'd love to have him back next year.
Same. Completely agree.
Which moves us on to the final award of the afternoon, and it is the Hibs Ramble 24-25 Player of the Year. The nominations are Martin Boyle, Rocky Bushiri, and Jack Iredale. Now, this was one that was also voted for by the Ramblers. All three players, I think. Martin Boyle's probably someone that we've not spoken an awful lot about so far this episode.
Nicky Cadden also unfortunate not to be in the mix there.
Yeah, Nicky Cadden. Someone actually said that to me. They went, "Can't believe that the actual Hibs Player of the Year isn't in your nominations." And I went, well, the actual Hibs Player of the Year has no bearings on who wins the Ramble Player of the Year. So, 3 words, get fucked. So I nominated Martin Boyle because of the impact that he's had in, I don't even want to say the second half of the season, Shaun. It's been everything apart from the first quarter, to be honest, isn't it?
But yeah, you can say that about almost every player in the squad as well this season.
Scored lots and lots of goals. I think it was 20 goals he got in total, which is incredible considering that he gave everyone else a massive head start. 11 assists, I think, if I'm
10, 11,
if I'm not wrong. So about 30-31 GA for the season, which for a Hibs player is incredible, and probably something that we've not seen since the Jason Cummins days in the Championship. So it's really impressive. I thought that Martin Boyle has taken the team by the scruff of the neck all season. He's obviously stepped into that leadership role and he's hit the ground running that way. He's been excellent. A lot of very important goals at very important times. And yeah, just all in all, kind of encapsulating our season as a whole, and I think he was excellent. Craig and yourself nominated Rocky Bushiri, and Mark nominated Jack Iredale. Obviously, we spoke a wee bit about Jack Iredale earlier on, so we'll just have a wee chat now about Rocky, Shaun. And he's someone who, probably like Triantis a little bit, has completely turned the head on Hibs fans' opinions of him. So much so that it's Triantis and Rocky that we want to get tied down for next season.
Yeah, I think the turnaround in Rocky's level of performance and the perception of him as a Hibs player, not just by the Hibs fans, but by the whole of the Scottish media, is something I've never seen before. Listen, I'm not surprised that the players and the coaching staff and David Gray have spoke so highly of him, and everyone's always done that since he's been at the club the whole time. I remember saying way back at the beginning, and it's not I told you so, that's not what I'm trying to do here, but you could see right at the beginning of his Hibs career that there was a top quality player in there.
I think a lot of people did think that though, and then it was just that it was always then he's got a mistake in him. He's got a mistake in him, which every player does, though, Shaun. Like, that's not like if a player didn't have a mistake in them, they would be playing for Real Madrid and Liverpool and PSG. They would be playing for the top teams in the world. They wouldn't be playing for Hibs, Hearts, even Celtic and Rangers. You know, no player in our division, and probably no player across the world, is exempt from making a mistake. Every player makes mistakes, some more than others. Yes, there was probably a couple of high-profile ones towards the start of his career at Hibs, but I mean, and even this season, at the start of the season, but he stamped it out now.
I just
Completely
think
stamped it out.
what he's done, he's got the right level of coaching, and the shape and the players around him complement him very, very well. So in a 2, I don't think he would perform anywhere near as well as he's performed in a 3. And I alluded to what you need when you perform in a 3. And there's a reason why some centre-halves excel when they're in a 3. And Rocky is the prime example of one of those. And it suits him down to a T, and it suits the way he plays. Having predominantly, because he's mostly been the centre one, someone either side to assist him, give him an option, and also act as cover if he is to step out as well. The boy's an absolute mentality monster. And I think a lot of people forget that he's only 23, 24. Like, he's still very, very young from a footballing perspective. And he came to the club when he was very young. And the centre-half position is, along with like a goalkeeping position, a notorious position that's tough to master. And if you get something wrong, that could be the end of your career at whatever level you want to try and achieve it. So for him to perform the way that he's performed consistently this season and be involved in a lot of key moments this year, listen, for me, Nectar could have won it, Boyle could have won it, Triantis could have won it.
Nectar is Triantis, by the way.
Nectar Triantis. I meant to say Nicky Cadden could have won it as well. Like, we have been in a very privileged position this season where we've performed very, very well, and lots of our key players have performed very, very well as well. But yeah, for me, Rocky wins it just because of the whole flip in performance levels and perception as well.
Well, it's fitting that you say that, because with 37% of the vote, Rocky Bushiri is the 24-25 Hibs Ramble Player of the Year. Absolutely well done to yourself, Rocky. Now sign that fucking contract, please. We would love to have you back for next season. A wonderful, wonderful season from Rocky, and it's nice to see that the people, especially folk in the media, and have kind of flipped what they think of him, and it's testament to him. And wherever he is next season, I'm sure he'll smash it. I'd love to see him stay at Easter Road. But you know, I think he probably has his sights set on higher than a team in Scotland, which is completely fair enough. And I think at this moment in time in his career, his stock is probably the highest that it's ever been. So if there's going to be a bigger move to significantly better and bigger club, it's probably now's the time to do it. But you know, he might surprise us all and sign a new contract. Personally, I can't see it, but I would love for it to happen. And
yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I would love for him to stay, but if I was him and I was in his shoes, I would leave.
Yeah.
Not just because of how good he's been and that his stock's high, but because of he's seen how he could potentially be treated again, which is a very, very real shame that he had to experience that, not just from Hibs fans, but from the Scottish media as a whole, and it's a shame that is a thing. So if I was him, yeah, I would love for him to stay, and he's been absolutely outstanding this season.
He really has.
But the fact that he's on a free means that he would get a bigger signing on fee from his new club as well. So from a career perspective, yeah.
And football's a short career, of course. We hear it all the time, but it's true. But yeah, well done, Rocky. The Hibs Ramble Player of the Year 24-25. And that has rounded us off for all our awards. So we'll go through them quickly again, just to remind you our award winners. So, moment of the season went to Dwight Gale's goal and the subsequent celebrations at Tynecastle. The goal of the season was Jack Iredale at home versus Hearts. This season's unsung hero went to Jordan Smith. The best signing was Nicky Cadden. The best game was the 2-1 at home against Hearts. The Mark Duncan Worst Take of the Year award was Shaun for saying that Jordan Smith wasn't a good goalie. The best away day was at Tannadice when we beat Dundee United 3-1. The funniest moment of the season was Ellie Yuan and corner flags. The limbs of the season was away at Ibrox. The Ramble moment of the season was myself on the BBC saying it would finish third. The young player of the year was Nectar Triantis, and the player of the year was Rocky Bushiri. And that wraps us up for season 24-25. If you've got this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all your support that you've given us throughout this season and throughout the whole time that we've been a podcast. Like I said earlier on, we are going to take a wee break now, and we'll come back. Yeah, from recording, yeah. And we'll come back in time for the European playoffs. If there's any pressing or breaking news that we feel we need to cover, we might jump back on and cover that. But other than that, it's been a successful season. As a Hibs fan, it's been a successful season as a Rambler. Thank you for joining me, Shaun. Any last words to close out the season?
We'll win a trophy next season.
You said that last year.
Yes, I did.
Fair. I believe you this time.
We got beat by Celtic in the League Cup.
And the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, well, I changed my prediction when Celtic knocked us out, and then who knocked us out? The Scottish as well. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But we will. David Gray, as a Hibs manager,
we'll win something. Maybe the Conference League.
We'll win a trophy.
You never know. The league, perhaps.
A trophy. David Gray will lift a trophy as Hibs manager.
If Celtic play the whole of next season the way that they played in the cup final, I think we could be on for the league.
We'd find a way to Hibs
that. Well, that brings us to a glorious end, to a glorious season. Again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for your support, and we will catch you next season. Bye!
Let's get ready to rumble.